in the chat either way. But let's get started. Welcome to What's New with Qwilr, February 2025 edition. My name is Steve, and let's dig into it. So, over the past several months, many of you have seen some usual suspects pop up. I'm sure all of you were surprised and then a little bit frustrated because it was new, and I personally was frustrated, but and then maybe delighted if you've really taken to using it. The side handlebar for all of the assets here, it kind of defaults to the Explore tab, unless whatever you were last doing wasn't on that. And that lets you kind of browse through various block options, and you can just kind of slide those in and then play around with them. I'm going to show a little bit more about that. Obviously, all the unsplash images, and then this little video tab here. We're going to get into that a little bit in the styling of sort of some of the updates. But you can also, of course, go to your own library and go to your own saved blocks and play around in there and go to your different subfolders. And the same thing with your images. Same thing with your images. But we're going to dive in and then we can kick that bad boy off to the side. But we're going to dive into some of the more significant in editor changes. So let's start off with my favorite change that is probably the oldest alongside with the side panel, which is, of course, layouts. You're probably already familiar with layouts if you've been with Qwilr for longer than the last 6, 7, 8 months or so. You were familiar with the 2-column widget, and the question was, when are we going to get more columns? So this widget is the layouts widget. It allows you to kind of space and design what you want in a Qwilr page. So I'm just going to throw some example text here. Example text. I know I'm so very inventive. And then we're going to maybe put a little picture in here. There's that sidebar again. I'm going to do a space station because I'm a nerd. So I'm going to do this little space station image I got here. And then for this one, I'm going to put more example text. So we've got the 3 columns. That's great. You can imagine putting 3 pictures of 3 important company employees with circle frames in their data, or a bunch of logos, because you can put a bunch of things. But Steve, you ask, how many columns can I have? I'm so glad that you, the royal you, asked that question. You can add a lot more columns. Let's add some more to the left. Let's add another one to the left. What if I just did, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna hit these little plus symbols there. I clicked out of it accidentally. Let's see. Can I get more? Can I get more in there? Can I have an unreasonable amount of columns? Nope, no more than 12. 12 is the answer. But if you want like 12 company logos that you worked with, here you go. But now I'm done, messed up my whole situation. My space station's off, my columns are too tiny. So while I'm in this edit layout, I can, of course, begin to move things. Now, maybe this gives me an idea. Maybe I want all my stuff kind of off to the left-hand side. Now, I don't need any of these columns, these other columns, but I just had a concept of being like, oh, what if this background here had like a big old graphic image on this side? Imagine, if you will. And I wanted all of the stuff to always be to the left of that image and try and stay over it on like your average computer. Oh, I deleted one too soon. I'm going to add a column. Nah, that's fine. I'm just going to move this bad boy to the right. There we go. So now when the page is displayed, this will always be kind of cordoned off by empty blank space. If I needed to further do some things, like maybe I want to make this image bigger, and the text a little bit smaller. Maybe I want to make the text a little bit smaller, maybe the image a little bit smaller, what have you. All of those things can be adjusted and proportioned, and then it works just like your uh, old 2-column widget did, or like accordions. You can put images in there and stuff. So this really allows you to shape your text. I like to go over this. I know some of you have probably already been like, yeah, Steve, I know this. We've been using it. It's been on the platform for months. But it was the holidays. And I like to believe that there are other people that are like me that are like, oh, that's cool functionality. I'm going to look at that in 3 months, apparently, because I forget everything I think of prior to mid-November. So that is layouts. But now let's get into some of the other problems with this layout. Now, this is some of the exciting stuff. This is the real nitty gritty design stuff, but it's stuff we've wanted for a while. So like, here's a good example. I don't like how spread out this text is. Technically, if I recall correctly, let's go even further here. Look at that. Look at all that noise. So much spread out. It doesn't make any sense. And so I would love if I could make adjustments to that. Well, unfortunately fictional, random, imaginary you that I'm talking to in my head, you can. Number one, you can, of course, change the color of a thing. And then you're like, oh, I want to change the color of the other thing, but I need it to, I don't want to have to highlight every, imagine if I had like 80 of these that I need to do that. Oh, well, I can just hit this paintbrush and say update block. And in theory, unless these are two different text types, which I might have done to myself, in theory, it would work. Or it's just going to shame me because it's just going to shame me a little bit because we're in a demo. I'll do this in another section. We're going to move on from that, and I'll show you how that works in a different section. I am going to show you that you can play with letter spacing now on the same little context menu. You notice how wide that kerning was? Kerning, for those that are not web design nerds, is the space between the letters and the fonts. And so you can kind of play with that. That's always kind of fun. You can also do things with line height so that the line height isn't as dramatic, right? I can get it really, really tight there. And then I can do things with like top spacing and bottom spacing. It's not really applying that much to this section, but you can see that it is coming up. So that's the in-between little sections here, right? And then I can go to this thing and I can update the block again. Oh, I highlighted the wrong one. Now, you ask yourself, Steve, did Control Z work there? Kind of. When dealing with all this style stuff, because it is so very stylish, as we all know, we don't have an undo button, so feel free to use the clone block tool liberally while you're making judgment calls, or maybe you've cloned the whole page, so you can mess it up as much as you want. You're not messing up the end of the game. But nonetheless, let me try this again. We're going to change this. Let's go red this time. We're going to turn to red. I'm going to highlight this, and I really want this to work the right way this time. It did. Look at that. That's what it's supposed to do. That is a horrible contrast. I would never trust me with page design again. Can't believe I did it professionally as a web designer for a while. But nonetheless, we're back into it, and we're back into this kind of structure where you can kind of play around with that. Now you'll notice that, you know, the paintbrush is gone now that it's all in the same thing. It didn't go through the whole thing and did it. It just did this in this block. You'll notice that there's another paintbrush up here. Now this is when I'm going to scroll down to this little ugly mess. Look at that green text with more words. What's going on? I now have this little style library. Now, if you ask yourself what happened to the rainbow paintbrush, the rainbow paint roller and everything like that. All that functionality is still there, still under customized style. You can still get to the set your block widths and set your block spacing, which we all know is going to probably be small, and then do like the little animation-y things and stuff like that. And you can try to you know, center all the text or left all the text, and you can even change the full setting of all of the text in or of different text in here. So if I decide to go subtitle and change that to a certain size and everything so that this block is there. Now, you're asking yourself, but Steve, why is this valuable to me? Well, it's valuable to you because now you can make broad decisions on, you're like, I don't like this color scheme. It's not purple, it's not blue, it's not black, it's not vibing with me. What if I do that? Bam, done. Already doing some of the work for me. What if I do this? What if I do this? Now you'll notice that this text here isn't changing because I manually edited this text at some point. And so I'm going to revert it back to the default style. And then I'm going to go in here and you'll see that it now appropriately changes. But more importantly, let's go back. And now I'm going to try Control Z. No. Command Z. No. Nope. Can't step back from this. But let's say that I'd edited the text to my heart's content and I was like, I like this block style. I want to have this block style as something that I can always work with. Well, we can save it on this list. Boom, we're going to save it. We're going to call it. Now, Subtle Brand on White Centered is a great name, but it's not came as a super awesome Steve webinar. Steve webinar February 25,000. It's not as cool as that. And so now I've got that block style. So now if I have another block of text, which I almost certainly do down here, I can go here, go to that, scroll down to the bottom of my list, and there it is. And you can see that very clear title that I created. And it just did a little bit on this because it's already had a white background. But there you go. And so that allows you to have these save styles. Of course, you can still save your blocks. Of course, you can still just like bring in blocks. Just like I said, like maybe I'm not good at styling as I proved earlier. So I want to go to the blocks and explore something and be like, yeah, this looks good. This is kind of on brand. And then I can begin to play and manipulate it and everything. So I'm not working from scratch. But this is nice. Now, you'll also notice something really unique here is the background image. So instead of a paint roller, it's like two different things. Now, this picks the text color of the background of it, just like a good old fashioned text block. But Steve, you ask, what is this image? Hey, are you tired of being like, I did this as an image block, but now I'd really love it to be a splash block and there's no way for me to just auto convert it, so I got to copy and paste stuff? Yes, we all were, and our developers heard our pain and finally merged these blocks together. So now we have the ability to just pick a background, and then do some fun things with it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so that we can kind of see a little bit more of the screen real estate because it's not as much. I've got a background image. I can still do the tint thing. So if I want to make it a little bit more purple, I can still do the tint thing where once I get out of the colors, I can do the like blend or things and play with the tint opacity. But we added this guy. This is one of my favorite new things. What if it was just a little bit blurry? Look at that. Now, if I just wanted kind of like a yellow kind of colory thing, but I didn't want it to draw the eye too much. I wanted something like transitional, ambient, radiant orange into this yellow. Beautiful. Looks great. Uh, uh, we also have the video background. So if I wanted this to be a video, I could pick a background video. Now we have the default videos, and we've reached out to developers to get the previous Splash videos into the mix as well. But we have some default videos, so I'm just going to throw one in there. And because is there one that speaks to me? Let's do this city thing. Now you're going to click and you're going to drag. Whenever you change in the background, you're going to click and drag it into here. But if you wanted to embed one, like in the good old days, you have YouTube. But now you can also use Vimeo. So slowly adding the rest of the video services. Now it takes a little bit, and now we've got that going on. Now that's cool. It almost looks sci-fi. I don't know if it's just like a really cool future town in some country I've never visited before, but more importantly, that same energy. Like maybe I like this, but it's like it's a little more noisy. Obviously, I still have the tint opacity that I can bring it down with, kind of dull bound, but I got that blur again. Got that blur again. Well, see, now I can see that it's a cool city, but I'm not paying attention to any of the detail because it's been blurred out. And if you're wondering, Steve, can I save these as styles? Of course you can. Of course you can save these as styles. Um, of course you can save these as styles, just like the other ones. You hit that plus, and then you know what? I'm going to leave this one. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to call it. Oop! I clicked out of it. I'm going to fail at staying in the box, and I'm just going to call this one N. Done. And now I can modify something to N. Maybe I want this in the title block and everything. Let me go to that style. We know that that's a solid image and everything. Can I just pull the video in and it'll just do what the video wants to do and everything? Excellent. Great. All of it's working. So we get a lot more flexibility. And on top of that, you'll notice that if I went back to here and I went back to image, that little guy's still there. I went back to color, and it's still that green color I picked. So it means that these blocks are going to be this. Now, if I were to save this block, it would only save with the background that was active. It doesn't hold on to these two variants. But it means that if you have a template all set up, and you might, maybe you have like a couple different vibes that you're wanting to test out, you can just kind of quickly be like, you know what, this customer, they seem like a bit more professional. We're going to go with the flat color backgrounds, but we don't have to like save a separate block, or we don't have to like do a separate block or bring in a separate block or go manually edit it, because it'll just kind of stay in the template, right? So that is the bulk majority of the style stuff that has been added. So we changed up kind of how the style library works, lets you kind of quickly swap assets, lets you accidentally step into too far of a situation. You see, it still holds on to those alternates there because it remembers them in that block. But situation, we've done some really cool things with like kerning and specific font weights and everything like that. let's talk about a couple other things. I know we are going to zoom in on this. In fact, I'm just going to expand it out. I'm just going to expand it out a little bit. And then, you know what? One last thing. I'm going to highlight this text. Will it let me do it? Let us find out. It won't in here. Classic in the widget action. Okay, highlight this text. Well, let me do it in this. Yes, it will. If I want to change all the text of align to capitals versus lowercase, I can, so that I can see if I like one better or the other. Just wanted to mention that out. I'm going to talk about Qwilr Pay and Qwilr Pay in a bit, but I'm first going to talk about Salesforce. Let me just highlight this one little guy green. Let me highlight. Actually, I think Salesforce's brand colors are more of a blue, so let's do a blue. Salesforce. So, for those of you that are our HubSpot customers, you've already been familiar with something called HubSpot Automations. HubSpot Automations is it's still in the beta, but it allows you that when you create a deal template or a Quiller page from a deal template connected to HubSpot, there's a bunch of fun automations you can do on things like when the deal is accepted by the client or it's expires or is set to live, but let's go with the classic accepted by the client. And you have some options like update the deal close date, update the deal amount, all that stuff. So that's HubSpot. That's coming to Salesforce. I believe we're kind of beta testing it at the tail end of quarter 1, and then it's going to come out in quarter 2. You can feel free to reach out to me if you're a Salesforce user and be like, "Hey, can I get a or like a early? Can I get in on that testing thing?" I would love that. You can email succeed@qwilr.com and say, "Steve, I'd love to play with a automation tool like this." And so what this does is it means that it can update like close date, it can update deal amount. Anyone that uses any CRM, Salesforce included, definitely knows if you can change something on a deal or a sales pipeline stage, that the CRM already has a whole bunch of stuff it can do on its side when that happens. And so that's great. Um, and updating fields and stuff. I don't have screens for that. I don't have like a prototype for that. So I just using the HubSpot because it's going to work exactly the same. I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited for this to be in all of our CRM integrations, but we had to do HubSpot and Salesforce first. Like those are our big guys. There's more about this. There will, of course, be all kinds of help documentation and everything like that to describe like how to do this, where to go, and everything like that. But that would be the coming soon to Salesforce side of things. Now let's go down to Qwilr Pay because I got to stay in this because I got to go somewhere else for that like doc uploader V1 beta thing to show you, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Let's go to Qwilr Pay. So what's Qwilr Pay going to be? Some of you are already using, many of our customers already use the Stripe integration we have, and Qwilr Pay is kind of a remodel of how Qwilr takes payments. It's powered by Stripe, but it's exciting, and it's exciting for a couple big reasons. So the first thing is that you can set your like defaults on the account so you can turn payments on or off regardless of if you're integrated with Stripe. Number two, you can decide if the default setting is to require payments on accept, or if you turn it off, if you want the buyer to accept the page and pay later, or if you can want default settings to always be partial payments. And then the other thing is you can set permissions for creator users to decide whether they get to edit those default things. And of course, that's the default. So if you have different templates with different choices in it, it's not going to break the system. It just lets you set those defaults, and then you can make payments a little bit more discoverable in the thing. I don't have a screen of it. It's going to be a pop up. The next big thing is the Qwilr Pay dashboard. Qwilr Pay is powered by Stripe, so it's plugged into Stripe. So it lets you know kind of where that money is. Did they accept it? Did they pay? How much did they pay? Is it in transit? Did someone dispute something? And then you can engage with that content there. But it lets you just kind of see all of the appropriate Stripe amounts and all of them, like the connected Qwilr Pay stuff right there in that dashboard. And then I'm teasing it. I'm teasing it a little bit, but we're going in Qwilr Pay Bank or Qwilr Pay bank debits, ACH, SEPA, BECs. That's right. Finally, the customer will be able to choose their payment type and be able to decide which payment type they pick and put in that information and everything. Will it look exactly like that? I don't know. I don't know if it will or not, but it will be essentially a variation on the screen. It won't have this fun little buyer that floats around with this. This is a fun little graphic and everything. These are our final screens. We have a mock-up that's coming up in a week or two that will have this. But Qwilr Pay is going to be good. You're going to have better tracking of it. You're going to have better control over it, and you're going to have better options to it. We are working on any details that might need to be done with existing Stripe integrations, like if we have to do things like have you refresh the integration or update terms of service and everything like that. That information will be forthcoming. That is all kind of quarter one stuff, beginning of quarter one or end of quarter one, so end of March, beginning of April stuff, or stuff that is already on the platform. Now, I'm going to do a quick switch, and my quick switch here is going to be to a different page. It's going to be to a different account because I'm showing you this wildly early, but we're going to appreciate your feedback on it. Oh, I know, I know. I logged out of it. I'll come back. Don't worry. There you go. You can see my desktop background for a little bit. Um, so we are going to go into here and I'm going to drag this in and we are going to do something on the internal account. We just dropped this in our internal account. It is in the most beta of beta alpha, even if there's a Greek letter before alpha, I don't know it. Maybe it's numbers first. I'm going to call it convert a document. You're asking yourself, man, wouldn't it be great if I could just upload a PDF and get into Qwilr? So this is beta V1 of the doc uploader. I'm not going to phrase it like it's a doc converter, like you would see on, say, like upload a PDF and have it be a different file type, or upload a PDF and have a website inform it. At this phase right now, the big key here is to think of this as a content parser. So let's say I have a PDF and I'm not even going to show you the PDF at first. I'm just going to upload. I'm going to pick it and upload it. Let's say I have a PDF and I need it to upload and everything. And it's got all these words and content. Now I got to copy and paste all that into a Qwilr currently and everything. And like, that's just part of it. That's part of using a new system. We've all done it. I get, paid professionally to do it. Oftentimes. But then I got to bulk upload all those images too. And it's just even getting the assets into the Qwilr can be a challenge. Now, the PDF I uploaded is about 17 megs. It's about 36 pages, and it's got a lot of text on it. You'll see when it's coming in. So this is going to process. It's probably going to take, when I've used it in the past, it takes somewhere between 60 and 90 seconds. um 60 and 90 seconds, and it's going to parse the data. And what I mean here to prepare you is it's going to take all of the text, and that's what's going to go in the blocks, and it's going to go by PDF page. It's just getting that text and getting that into the blocks. It might style some of them as titles, it might style some of them as subheadings, it might style some of them as body, but it's not going to have a lot of graphics. But it's also going to grab all the images and it's going to put that into my image library. So now, instead of having to go to another tab or go to another screen, copy, paste, place, and everything, that stuff is already on asset in there once this finishes. Okay, I was about to say, don't embarrass me. Don't embarrass me on this. On this. You worked this morning. But it is in very, very early access, but we will be releasing it in this version. And the reason we're releasing it in this version is because version is because we want you guys to use it, find where the breaks are and everything. But like right now, you're just seeing a whole bunch of text. But with these handy dandy little handles, you can arrange them. Or maybe I need to move it over into this and get that line up in there and get that little blue line in there. So I need to drag between things. I can, of course, highlight. And I just showed you all the new things that we did to help style things a little bit faster. Like if I want this to be maybe more blue and everything, and then I want all of the text of this style to be that blue, done. I didn't have to go and highlight all of it. I didn't have to go to each little section and everything like that. That you can take those style guides in and really begin to shape it. But more importantly, you can also see all of the images. Now, did I upload basically, and you're seeing like pieces of it because I've done this once already today and I forgot to clear these out. And so I've tested it a lot. Did I upload a Spider-Man comic? I did indeed upload a Spider-Man comic, but I wanted to show off why I chose a Spider-Man comic, and so I'm going to get to that portion and bring it into this here. I wanted to show why I showed this, because this is there. So obviously this is a scanned comic that scanned at a pretty high quality, but it's just a scanned in comic. Look at that fuzzy text. Look at all that tiny text. It doesn't even understand yet in Chrome's browser that this is tiny text that I should be able to do. There, it gets that this is tiny text, but this dialogue, it's in there. These pictures are all fully uploaded. Now, I'm just going to briefly show this to you. In a more traditional PDF, um, PDF, you're gonna see it like break out the assets. So I'm just gonna briefly show a bunch of logos, some people there. Um, it'll break out the assets, and so you'll have pictures and backgrounds, things that are more like company PDFs. But I wanted to show it with Spider-Man because I'm a big old nerd and I love Spider-Man. And I also kind of wanted to show how good it is at kind of like picking up, oh, this is text here. That's wild. But nonetheless, that's the doc uploader. That is going to come out, and it's going to be very much early access. Do we have multiple versions of it that will update, that will do more of like a doc conversion into a Qwilr page? Yeah, that's definitely the plan. But we got to take it in pieces. We got to take it and figure out and fine tune it. And so you'll get more information about that over kind of Q2. And so now I'm going to come back in, and you can see that I've done 3 of these. You can see other team members have been testing it in this thing, but I'm going to come back into Qwilr, and I'm going to come back into my test account to show you some of my favorite things that I'm excited about. I saved my favorites for last because I'm very narcissistic. No, I'm very excited about Qwilr Pay, honestly. Uh, Bank debits all day, every day, super good. Let me get back into this and then pull this bad boy in. It should kick me out of this one. There's my fun little desktop again. All right. So let me scroll on down. Scroll on down. Actually, before I get to my very favorite thing, I do want to address a couple other updates that are coming in. Some other updates that are coming in to Qwilr over kind of Q2 and everything that we're looking at. Analytics, we're going to do an improvement on analytics. It'll let you kind of do some more functionality, request specific time zones and things, sort by various different things. And more importantly, North Star, just request a bunch of data fields and pull out a CSV. So if you want to plug it into a spreadsheet, pivot table, and everything like that, you want to data analyze it, you use Tableau, you use Power BI. That'll give you some strength there. We've got more additions coming to Qwilr Pay. I showed you kind of the initial stuff. We have a phase 2 in Qwilr Pay, where we're going to see, not see, but we're going to confirm that we can execute and fix a common problem anyone using the Stripe integration has run into, which is recurring payments have to be very manually modified on the Stripe side. We're going to see, we're going to address that problem. We're looking at permissions in Q2, specifically subfolder permissions and what people can and can't see. We're doing some upgrades to the agreements. For those of you that have ever used an agreements, do I already have an accept? I do. For those of you that have ever used an agreement here, we're going to have the ability for people to put in like a little widget to add initials and signatures and support multiple signees and have guiding flows and possibly slot locking. All right, I've run through the openers long enough in that little category of things where I wasn't actively engaged in the product. I've run through those long enough. I'm going to show you the thing that I'm most excited about is coming down the pipe in Qwilr, or in Q2, the first phase of the update to the Qwilr quote block. So these are just pictures, they're just images from the design things to give you an idea of where the flexibility of the quote block is going to be. You can immediately see that we have big pictures, text titles, multiple options, a select button at the bottom with a subtotal there, right? You can immediately begin to see as we zoom in on this one, that it allows you to kind of break it up. Here's another example of a page. Is that little pictures on a column? Do we have custom column things? You saw that layout thing earlier. Imagine that power with some customized column power in the quote block. picture up in the border there. But what if I want a splash background behind my quote block? Well, fortunately, I got that little paintbrush and that little circle here, just like I do in this block. So I have a lot more design power, little icon, little things, lots of little items. You can see that the columns are kind of customized there. And again, those little accordion splash blocks and everything. But now what if I want, like a nice background square, kind of like the background blocks on Splashbox, but it's an image, and I want to still have my select blocks up here, but I kind of want it to be slick and everything. Or what if I want to go full bore and have image, expandable information, select button, different packs, different features, and really flex out this quote block and what it can look like and everything. And then the last one, a little bit more of a kind of a classic kind of retail shop. You notice that there's an upholstery label right there, like we have our Lego overrides, and there's like these little drop downs and everything. Do we have the ability to customize columns coming up to this? Well, you'll get more information about this as we get a little bit more into it in quarter 2. But this will be phase 1 of some very attractive updates, both mechanically and systematically. So before I get into the Q&A section where I read whatever you've been posting in chat and the Q&A block, I do want to ask one thing of everyone, and I'm going to post this link into chat. This is a link, and it'll be in the email with the VOD of this that'll come out afterward. This is the link of the Typeform survey that talks about some of these things, gets a little information on your Stripe integration and everything like that. Not a lot of questions, like a few questions up front, and then has a field specifically like, okay, I showed you design. I showed you design. I can tell you that we are in process of narrowing down new ways to kind of calculate prices and the potentiality of like I select one thing and other things select or pop up and everything and all that kind of dynamics. But I want you, even if you filed a feature request before and have been added to a feature request, I'm sure I've been one of the people that have done it in the past, about what you need from a quote block or what would interest you in a quote block, functionality wise, design wise, whatever you can think of. Go to this type form that I am just putting in the chat right now, save it, fill it out. It'll get emailed to you again. So if you forget to grab it, and put that feedback in. Now is the time, because we are doing this phase and then we're going to continue to make improvements in the same fashion that we did a lot of improvements in the editor so that we could then do them in the quote block. And if you're wondering like, oh, will I get to have like tables with images and content in between? Yes, you will. There's other things that I could go into, but I want to get to some of these questions. I want to have plenty of time for that, and so that's in the chat. Just one word in a sentence, underline or I'm gonna try to answer them in order. I'm gonna go to the Q&A first because it looks like there's only a few things in here. From Ian J, I'm sure you will cover this soon. What would be helpful if we can force a required selection on separate blocks in the quote? In our business, we present the client in groups of items within these multiple blocks had separate options for the customer to select. In the current version, there is no way to force a selection of each quote block prior to the customer accepting. Hope that makes sense. It does make sense. Can I have you email that ENJ to succeed@qwilr.com and everything? I can give a response. I want to try a test out on something. I think I might have a current workaround for you, but and then of course, after you get my response, maybe tomorrow, maybe next day, go to that link, go to that Typeform link and put it in there. If it's not in there, I will also be communicating it. I guarantee you that our product managers will be reviewing this. This looks great, but how does it look on mobile devices? Are we getting mobile layout optimization? So roadmap 2025, I'm fine saying that the priorities right now is we're wrapping up a bunch of stuff in the editor. We're doing kind of doc uploader and then doing version after version of that until it becomes kind of what it's going to become. But right now it just kind of asset parses and gets a bunch of things into your thing. We're doing some stuff with Salesforce, some stuff with analytics and everything like that. Mobile optimizer, I don't believe is anywhere on the roadmap in 2025. I can confirm that in the afterward of this. However, if you are having significant problems with mobile and how it looks and how it translates to it, and especially with layouts, I have some tips and tricks that if we got time in this, I'll go into. Otherwise, email me at succeed@qwilr.com and I will answer that one. Automation is a great feature. Do we have documentation about it already? So in HubSpot, you do. If you type in, you can just go to Google and type in HubSpot Qwilr automation. The Salesforce automation will come out when the product's live. But you can look at the HubSpot one and you can see what it's pretty much going to look like. That's also true for the Slack automation for how our Slack integration now works. Is Qwilr Pay available in Australia? Yes, it's going to be available in Australia. It's not there yet. It's not there yet. That's coming out, right? It's going to be available in Australia. Let me get back to Qwilr Pay here. It's going to be available in Australia. So, and I think Australia is the one where you call them BECs. BCs, the bank debits, or Australian bank debits, however. And so you'll have both the credit card option and that. It'll be available in the US, Australia, Europe. If you go to Stripe's site and you type in bank debit, you can find out like kind of what it is. It's like a thing that they have as like a service and everything. And so all of those things, just like with the credit card, where Stripe charges a credit card fee. All the bank debits are actually usually a lot cheaper for bigger price ticket items. Kind of depends on the per item. But like ACH, SEPA, BECs can be a lot cheaper for bigger priced items. But they have all the fee information on that. Will you have Pipedrive plugins similar to HubSpot? We will. We will eventually get to Pipedrive and Zoho. We had to go by kind of order of like most popular and how much time our devs had. But we will get those automations in play. Is an undo feature on the roadmap? Lily, my heart goes out to you. I would love it if I could say yes. I simply don't believe we're getting an undo feature in Qwilr 2025 based off the roadmap. And there's a lot under the hood of why that happens. So you still got the Control Z, Command Z where it works. Be cautious. And there you go. Now I can do chat. Chat, I see Andrew up in this chat a bunch. Any update on having more than one brand set similar to businesses who have 3 or 4 businesses? Or is this save option meant to be a solution? So yeah, I think this does a better job at solving this. Right now, we just had another feedback on the brand conversation and multi-brand conversation. This kind of begins the journey of solutions. You can see that we're moving into a lot more like profiley, savey, optional things. It's not just save blocks now; it's save styles. It's not just save blocks by themselves. It's also saved agreements within the saved blocks and everything. And so we're kind of slowly building our blocks up to being able to have more flexibility within account, and also multiple companies and brands goes hand in hand with what I discussed about kind of very vaguely about kind of improvements to identity management. I can't give you real details about that. That's still very much in the scoping thing, but updates will happen about it toward the end of Q2, maybe into Q3. Pipedrive plugin. Will you have a Pipedrive plugin? I mean, we do directly integrate with Pipedrive. And we do directly allow you to connect template pages to it, merge fields with tokens, create pages from it, and everything like that. If that's what you're talking about, Craig, and you didn't know about that, if you go to help.qwilr.com and type in Pipedrive, you'll see the instinct for it. If you're talking about automations, like I said, we're going to get there. Are we far off from these editor features coming within the price block area, i.e., font size? Well, that came before I started talking about it. Yeah, no, lots of editor features in the price block area. We're essentially trying to turn the price block area. So I hope that was exciting. Can you upload PowerPoints? Not yet. It's PDFs right now, but anyone that is curious about how you convert a PDF to a PowerPoint, I think you could do it in PowerPoint. I'd have to check where I can just save it as a PDF. Or export it as a PDF. But if not, you can go to Google and type in convert PDF to. We don't have a specific service, so that's why I'm telling you this way. Convert PowerPoint to PDF free online, and it'll have a little upload download box, and you'll be able to do that. Can you upload PowerPoints? Not currently. Betty test user over here for Stripe. There's the form. Can you add underline and being able to just bold or italics just one word in a sentence? Also, font size can be different in the same line. I have lost columns in mobile from in our report form, mobile form in our reports. I've lost columns in mobile form in our reports. I think I know what you're talking about, Alex Lee. Let me address the underline thing. and the text questions. Let me go to some block with some text in it. Here we go. So I can let's go to a font that is maybe this font is a little tough for bolding because it's pretty bold out the gate. Let me do a text font. You know what? Let me ruin all the work I put on this font. Let me go into this as just one of my general test accounts. Let's go to brand setup. Rotate. So I like archival black. I like big blocky fonts. I'm a big blocky guy, so I'm gonna like big blocky fonts. But let's do Able. Able's really narrow. And then we're gonna, we're gonna turn everything into Able. So this will be interesting. Let's take a quick gander at what I've done. What have I wrought? You know what? It's tiny, but it's not as bad as I thought. So let's talk about bolding. So let's see. We should be able to bold. Yep. So you can just do one word, and we don't have underline yet. We can do, just italicize and bold. We don't have underline as that, and then strike through, of course, as well. You can't change the font of one line, but you see these little handle guys here, right? These little pop-up Lego blocks. See when I let me get some with white behind it. Let me quickly turn this to a color background instead of video. Oh, I've gone and I've ruined it all. I've gone and I've ruined it all. There we go. Words. Okay. So you see when I grab this, it kind of highlights this in blue. It considers this all one line of text. And so I can't change the font size of just this one line, or of just the word, just, I almost typed in word bacon. That didn't mean anything. Just this, it would do it to this whole like little bar, but then any other bar, it wouldn't do it to. So it's still kind of done on lines. So it's still kind of done at lines, but like even if I made this title text as well, and so it was the same right now, if I change this one, you'll notice it no longer takes all the title text up. It just only changes the stuff within this bar. That's about as narrow as I think we can get it right now. And then again, we can push that to the rest of the block as long as this is what we're highlighting and make it there. Or if I want to change it again, make it blue, and then go back to reset style, if I accidentally put the wrong thing. So that's that side. I've lost columns in mobile form in our reports. If you're thinking about tables, I have heard that. I'd love you to directly email me on that one, Alex. Offers clients 3 and 6 month payment plan where their choice is determined 30 or 50% dollar. Could this kind of thing? Put that in the type form, Andrew. Put that in the type form as I go back through the chat here. Can you add a way to add small numbers at the end of a sentence for source quotes? Oh, like little sublimated numbers and everything. You know what? Let me find out. Let's do some work here. We're gonna do some live. Steve tries to figure out how good he is at Qwilr. So we've already defined that we can't change the individual font size of a given line. But if I was to do it like this, and then I was to do it like that, and then I was to put different word, and then I was to highlight this, and I was to use the new extra tiny caption text and bring it down to 14, which is really just the smallest it could do. And then I was to maybe highlight this, and then go into this little font thing, try to take the bottom spacing to as low as I can so that it's as close as possible, and everything. I think this would be about as tight as I could get the next line down. The problem would be if I just started, maybe if I do this. What if I have, yeah, no, if I just started with a title here, and I tried to make this title text, um, ooh, if I tried to make this title text, it would make the whole row title text. So I can't quite get it there. I can't quite get it to that little sublimated number at this point. Good feature request. I'll make sure to include it when I go back through these things. Can you add away small number source and add right alignment? Can you do can only do center and left? We don't have right alignment right now. But I will call out that someone else again has asked for right amount alignment. I see we can clone a column within a layout. Can we clone the whole layout? A great question. Great question. Layout. Click the border. No. However, layout. Let me put some content in here. Let me add a couple pictures. So let me drag in some guys. Layout. You know what? Nuts to you. Only space stations. This is all that's going to happen. It's just unlimited this space station graphic. Layout. And then Control or Command C, and then we do a little enter line. Control Command V. Yeah, there it is. Got to clear that extra line there. Boom. That's how you copy a layout. So you do it the old-fashioned way with the hotkeys. Control or Command C. Windows or Apple appropriate, and Control or Command V, and you can clone the layouts. And then yes, you can when you're in the edit space, do like the little clone columns or move left, move right, delete columns, that kind of thing. And because we've got all these pictures, I'm gonna show off a little bit more of the gapping and the padding and how it kind of impacts stuff there. Do we see functionality to do basic edits on images with InDesign, EC crop, remove basic? No, but we don't have that yet for either the background or the InDesign. I really would like the zoom in crop. Zoom in crop, I think that's the biggest one and the one that we kind of have with the circle frames on inline images. We don't have that on the roadmap, but I will be taking that to my meeting next week. That's sort of like the post we did this meeting with product team and the go-to-market team on this stuff. Do we have functionality to do basic images and remove image design crop? Connected to Unsplash, many of us use Canva. Do we see a day where images or videos can be connected to our Qwilr account? I've never had that question asked. Just to keep that one in my mind, if you could email succeed@Qwilr.com on that one, Andrew, and say hey. Attention, Steve, something like that there. Yes, sorry, tables. Thanks, Steve. So, thank you so much. I think that's all the questions. Oh, I think I might have gotten maybe one more. No, I think it's good. I think it's good. Do you, we have pipe drive plugin similar to there? I think we're all good on all of the questions for this one. We will have, of course, documentation will be all updated as these features come in. All of the things that I showed you with all this style stuff, this layout stuff, this is just a test Qwilr account that's not like in a special environment. It's like a regular sometimes it's business I make it a business account, sometimes I make it an enterprise account, but it's the same as yours. So you have access to all of like this kind of styling kerning thing to give a play around. The doc uploader, like the version 1 beta doc parser version that we're gonna talk about and reach out to you on, will be coming in the next couple weeks, or next few weeks, and we'll be reaching out. I guess it's the end of February, maybe end of March, beginning of April. And that's again, that's version 1. It's not the cooked product. That's the thing. But yeah, do look at that Typeform link. Do look at the getting that quote block feedback of like exactly what like the example Andrew put in the chat of like these are the functions I need. And I've got some examples there, like better management of saved line items, right? More complexities of variables. And I'm not saying we don't already have things in the pipeline. We absolutely do, but I don't want to speak to them before I can kind of show them in a design or like an example prototype, because as you all know, the quote block can get mighty complicated, but it now will at least be a lot. The first phase of it will be prettier, and then the second phase will have and have some more functionality to it, and then the second phase will have even more functionality, and so forth and so on. We really want people to be able to maximize the quote block, accurately put that information in there so it's mechanically in there, and then combine it with the new upgraded Qwilr Pay, you get a much better kind of proposal solution payment thing. Any other questions before I let you all go for the day? It looks like we're wrapped up with a whole 7 minutes left. This is what happens when I'm not doing it at 7 in the morning, like I did for the poor East Coasters and Europeans. They got the dress rehearsal version of this pitch. Thank you all so much for all your questions. Do feel free to reach out to me in the succeed at Qwilr .com queue. I probably won't respond to you today because I've got a couple more meetings to wrap up with some customers, but I will try to respond to each of you. I am seeing it, tagging it, and then putting it there in later. And do look at that vitally form. Do look at that type form survey that was in the chat and do fill that out. You will never have a more direct view. Maybe, I mean, you can oftentimes get a couple of them on the phone, but you will never have a more direct opportunity to be like, at least be heard. I can't guarantee everything you're going to send is going to be done, but at least be heard. And there's things that I know about it that are very exciting, and I'm excited to kind of demo it off. You'll get a lot of stuff about the quote block, a lot of stuff about the doc par or some stuff about the doc parser early on, and then some more stuff as we continue to improve it. And everything I've talked to here. But thank you so much. Haven't seen the Typeform link. Let me put it back in the chat. It's in there. Let me put it back in the chat, and it'll of course come with the follow-up email with that. Nope, that's not it. Let me put this in. I desperately want you to do it. Boom. That guy right there. Oh, no, you didn't see it. This guy right here. That's my fault. I forgot to make it to everyone. There is the Typeform link. So please do fill it out. Thank you so much again for your time on this. I appreciate all of your questions. You're fleshing out. I mean, you're already the type to join me real time in a webinar, and I'm a lot. So thank you so much. You all have a wonderful rest of your, depending on your location, Wednesday evening. Wednesday night if you're in the US and you, like me, have bad work-life balance boundaries, or if you're in like APAC, Thursday, full rest of your workday. Goodbye, everyone.